to say
Good
something.
morning, and welcome to the Be More News Morning Show. My name is Donnie Glover, and we're here with. Come on, Eastside. What's your name?
Akio Evans.
Not you, the ladies. I was interviewing, bringing in
BmoreNews.
Thank
Say
you.
it again.
China, how you doing? You have another
I'm
computer.
Fantastic. I'm just realizing that I left the door open behind me, which is, probably not smart with a 3-year-old running around. I'm fantastic.
Okay. You got more than one TV studio, we see.
Well, with my daughter being home, she took over the library next to the Christmas tree, and every
Nice.
she asked me if she can open a present.
Kivette, how are you this morning? Kivette, hello.
Yeah. Hello there, Donnie. I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. And what wine would you recommend for today?
Oh, today, any red or white will do.
Whatever works, whatever you can open.
That's right.
That was our wine.
Pop the cork, It's just,
well, you can send one over to my
merry
house.
season. It's a happy holiday.
Your favorite. Send your favorite over to my house. We take all
We'll
deliveries.
definitely do that.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Okay, so Nicole, are you going to hold your phone the whole show? It's a 1 hour. You don't want to set it down?
Well, because I got all these Clubhouse notifications that keep jumping in here, so I'm trying to move them.
So, well, on that note, I've been hearing Marsha talk about Clubhouse. Be More News finally got an
turn your
iPhone.
doggone phone on, boy. He got an Apple phone. He won't give me the information. Whatever. Don't even act like that. Tell him, Nicole.
China Boterell, I thought it was a very interesting interview yesterday with Brooke Learman running for comptroller.
I was, and I think it was good that, she was pressed on, okay, well, we've heard it all before. How do we know that this is really going to be different? Because I talk to people, there's a feedback, I'm not sure why, but I talk to people often in the street everywhere, and I hear the same thing. People are so tired of, coming about political season, everyone's making promises, and then once they're in office, they're not delivering. And so I think that the strongest answer to that, which Brooke gave, is say, well, here's what I've already done. So it's not as though these are new promises or this would be new behavior. But I thought it was a really great time to chat with her.
So do you think anyone will be getting into that comptroller's race, maybe from the Prince George's area?
And that I don't know. I'm from Prince George's County. I know that there's possibly a gubernatorial candidate coming out of PG County, but I really don't know. I'm not as connected to the political scene there. Of course, I'm here in Baltimore and so steeped in this. But I really don't know. It would be interesting to see who else comes out of the race. But for me, it's Baltimore before everything. And so, certainly we'll see what happens, but I'd like to support our Baltimore candidate.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that just like Marilyn Mosby was the first to get into the state's attorney's race and consequently won, this lady is the first in the comptroller's race, and she has jumped on an opportunity. There's an open lane, just like blockers opening the way for Lamar Jackson to run straight up the middle, and she very well could be the very next comptroller. And honestly, China Boterell, that's why we had to hit her with the hard questions, because we know once they get in, it's just like a guy trying to get next to a girl. He's going to say whatever he's got to say to get in that door, but afterwards, you don't know what you got.
Well, that's true. I think that the rhetoric, the campaign rhetoric doesn't matter. And so really looking at what people have delivered, I think is the most important thing ever. And I wish that, in all honesty, I wish that across the city, we would apply that standard, because so often we say, well, they're from Baltimore, therefore they know what's best. And then oftentimes those people don't deliver. So I think it's good to have people who are from Baltimore, who live in Baltimore, who have a track record of things that they can point to that they've delivered. Results, 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 results. That's what Baltimore needs. That's what Maryland needs.
I think we need to be grooming somebody to get ready to run for that. It's 2022, right? So now's the time to sit down and look at those people who should be in play to get them ready, primed to go up against that. So, too often we wait to the last minute and we don't think about long range planning and developing a strategy for the gubernatorial race, for the comptroller race. We need to be proactive opposed to sitting back complaining after something happens and somebody's in place that we don't want there. But now's the time to have this conversation. And we play games too often. And we all have to be involved. And now that we are moving in place, now's the time to do what we need to do to organize and make certain that we have all the right people in place. Donnie, you have a wonderful relationship with a lot of people, Peggy Morris and the whole crew out there in Prince George's County. We have folks in Montgomery County. We have people in every county in this state. We need to make certain that they are rallied and we have developed a strategic plan, because you can't get there from here if you don't. We sit down and stay passive, we're going to get the same thing we've always got, nothing.
Marsha,
I said it.
Marsha, did you see Ethan Hawke in The Good Lord Bird?
No.
Did anybody see it? No. Good Lord Bird. I know you can get the first episode for free on Hulu. I'm a Hulu fan.
Hulu.
I really like Hulu.
Are they paying you for this, Donnie? Hulu paying you for that?
Right. That's this message. I don't
know, China, I don't know the last time you've been in West Baltimore, but we do give out testers at the dope line.
I live in West Baltimore.
Right. So sometimes you got to put a little gift out there, to get the big one. Okay. So we can entertain Hulu, but long story short, The Good Lord Bird is produced by Ethan Hawke. He's starring in it, and he's playing my favorite white man in the whole world.
Oh.
John Brown.
Oh.
Okay, I gotta see this. One
of y'all from West Virginia, I thought.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My whole family's from West Virginia, both sides. I come from a family of coal miners. I don't want anyone to talk to me about
it. You came from Prince George's County.
Her family came from West Virginia.
The origin.
John Brown
work in the coal mines. They moved to Prince Georgia. They moved to PG County.
John Brown led a slave insurrection. It was in Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Now, shame on the education.
I like that place. It's beautiful.
In West Virginia, because they should have taught every West Virginian about John Brown. But since they didn't, you can go watch The Good Lord Bird on Hulu.
Why should we watch it?
Because he was the baddest white man ever.
What made him so bad?
Because he was killing white people for the sake of
Donnie. Marsha, why'd you take me there?
Because that's what I do.
That's not how
we're gonna wind it up.
Stir the pot.
Mercy.
And John Brown was coming to kill you. I'm with him, and I'm gonna help him.
Thank you, Donnie, for that note. Because you get real serious about that stuff. Why are you so serious about that?
He's in my book. You better. And then John Brown was busting caps all the way in Kansas.
How did he get to Kansas?
His sons were in Kansas. Great question. It was called the Free State. You better check out John Brown.
We're going to check out your book. So you're going to have enough information where we don't have to go anywhere else, and it will be the perfect resource. So you need to hurry up and get it done.
Okay, in other news, the virus is showing Black people what they knew all along, according to The Atlantic. What did Black people know all along?
Oh, you mean that police will kill you?
That Black people were, it's a great headline. You got to check it out.
The Atlantic. And what happened?
But not all police, not all police. I have to say, I have some very, very dear friends who are really, really working hard to change that culture, and they are inside the force.
I wasn't talking about police.
Well,
I
right.
did.
You're talking about the virus.
Coronavirus.
Right.
The headline says we've realized what we knew all along, that Black people were dying at a higher level than anyone else.
Right.
But that's always been the case.
Yeah.
So until
because
what happened
in poor communities, it's much more from the health challenges.
Systemic racism in the health division, because they were putting Black people in rooms and like, oh, they're gonna die, and writing them off. You do know that. They wrote off Black people in nursing homes. You get a ventilator, you don't get a ventilator. Oh, they were playing God in there. And if you had an old Uncle Charlie who been in there since 1972, oh yeah, Uncle Charlie was up for it. You couldn't visit your relatives. Folks, we are still in the thick of it.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have to pay attention, as you said, to our history so that we recognize what's going on right now. I know for me, when they start talking about the vaccine, the first thing came up in my mind was the experiment in Tuskegee. I was like, I'm not going to be the first one to roll up on that.
But there are people who we know that actually did photo ops and getting the shot. So what do you think about that? Is that something that now that it's been out for a little while, a couple of weeks, are any of you going to take a shot?
I personally think that runs right along the lines of Trump and encouraging people to ingest hydrogen, chloride, Clorox, literally, to clean their systems out, and there were several people who did that and actually died from it. So, just because they're doing a photo op to take a shot doesn't mean I'm convinced.
Well, I have to say, I'm looking forward to taking the vaccine. I think that we have to look at the facts. I mean, the vaccine is the vaccine. There are not different vials for people depending on the color of their skin.
How do you know?
Well, why would we say
organize it?
I think we have to deal in reality. I think so often as a community, we deal in wives' tales and in myths, and we don't want to do that. We have to say,
we dismiss the reality for wives' tales and myths. I think we have to look at what the reality is that the Black community has faced in this country, and recognizing that the reality of systemic racism is coming to fruition right in front of our faces. If we haven't recognized that over the last 9 months, then you won't ever see it.
What should we be looking at? What are those data points that we should be looking at?
The vaccine is bad. I think that's a dangerous connection.
I think that people, and I've said it before, people need to do
their
own research.
It hasn't been tested.
Marsha was talking. We got to.
I think we need to do, personally, everybody needs to do their own research. And you and your family need to come to a conversation, sit down and have a family conversation with everybody in your family and look at the data, look at everything, look at the history. The key here for me is that these vaccines have only been rolling around for several months. This is not a 10-year research plan. These people dropped this stuff in a minute. They probably had something sitting on a shelf that they came in and said, oh, we could take this base and go and build something more with it, and we'll see what happens. A woman was standing on a stage talking about it, took the shot and fell out. So you have to really be real careful about this. It could be life or death for somebody that has some contra issues internally. You need to have real, honest conversations with your family and with your community, and then make a decision. Don't allow anybody to put any pressure on you. Don't allow somebody that you don't even know sit and tell you what to do. You need to find out for yourself what works for the best for your family, because it could be life or death.
Well, not to mention that if you do have an adverse reaction, there's nothing that you can't sue the pharmaceutical companies. So that to me screams volumes.
Speak that. Say it again, Nicole.
My thing is that you can't sue them. So basically, you take this injection that they haven't did the qualified research on. Coronavirus has been around for a long time. It continues to mutate. They have another virus strain out. So you take this vaccination and you still get it, or you get worse. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm not gonna line up first. I think I'm gonna wait it out. And if I do go, I'm going to a predominantly white neighborhood. And the reason I say that is because they do put things into certain areas with all of these different turkey drives, food drives, chicken dropping stuff in certain neighborhoods. We need to really pay attention to what's really going on because they're not feeding you for free unless they're giving you some. And this has been historical data that has been. If you read books like Not in My Neighborhood, this is by design. A lot of things that we have that are going on in our urban areas is by design. So
You
I'm
better
not gonna
believe
line
it.
up first. I do believe, as a nurse, I'm a registered nurse as well. I do believe that we should have some, but we can also boost our immune system. We can definitely, it's just all different kinds of ways. I'm not jumping out there first.
As a registered nurse, Miss Nicole, will you be
Hmm.
responsible for administering the vaccine to anyone?
No, I do not work on the floor anymore. Like I've been off the floor now for 8 years. I
Okay.
wouldn't like they call. I'm sorry.
Nicole, you
I
said
don't
something.
understand work off the floor. I don't understand.
Oh, like I don't touch any, I haven't touched a patient in like 8 years. Like I did like before I officially retired. I still hold my license, but I'll do like administrative things just to keep my nursing hours so that I'm able to keep my nursing license. But I haven't did any patient care in like 8 years.
Mm. Nicole, you said something I think is very important. Your immune system and looking at what you're eating and what you're taking
Yep.
in. Can you speak more about diet and what we should be doing, particularly for people of color?
For me, if you look at the coronavirus, look, it comes from cows. Cows, they actually had vaccinations for, corona with cows for a long time. We to intake and all of this beef, you know what I mean? So we got to kind of watch a lot of our diets, stop ingesting all of these animals, these carcasses, because whatever these animals get, they get it, you getting too, because you eat it. The food, the fire doesn't necessarily kill a lot of these viruses. So I've been off meat for 3 years myself, because it is the best I've ever felt.
So you're doing
So meat,
fish.
definitely.
So are you doing
I do
fish?
fish in moderation because you got to watch the fish too. The fish, they grow
Mhm.
in the land. So you can't. But no, I try to do a lot of mushrooms. I do occasionally do tempeh, but I do a lot of beans. So I've just
Mhm.
tried to modify my diet. My family, the majority of us, we've converted to just eating anything that grows by the sun.
Okay,
Processed
Mhm.
let me
stuff,
just
I try
jump in.
not to partake in it.
Let me
Thank
just
you.
jump in. While we have you, Nicole, and by the way, China, we have talked about Henrietta Lacks in East Baltimore, medical apartheid,
Hmm.
the forced sterilizations in North Carolina, the Tuskegee experiments, Fort Detrick, Maryland with HIV. No, we do not trust this government. But Nicole Orr, you are a business owner, and that's why you are here today
I
to
know.
tell us
There it
about
is.
your business at 1400 West Lombard Street, A and C Pack and Ship. And she may be coming to East Baltimore, China, Folk Terrell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Tell us about it.
Thank you. Basically, what we started off as community based, we do house every domestic carrier up under one roof from UPS to Postal Service, DHL, and then we have FedEx, of course. But we recently broke off into doing international, where we've been shipping like forklifts, you ride moors back and forth to different
Wow.
Caribbean countries.
That's awesome.
So now we're trying to, go into more of the 3PL movement with warehousing, so that we're able to support smaller businesses in distribution. So I'm looking for a warehouse, hopefully soon. So that's why I really don't, do any patient care anymore because that was something that I kind of wanted to go away from and build my own. Because you can work in a hospital forever and you don't necessarily, you're still working for someone else. So my whole goal
Mhm.
was to get away from that. And here I am.
So do you
Now,
have trucks
Nicole,
and everything?
oh,
I have one 16-foot box truck. I am looking to acquire a flatbed to add, but I can't drive CDL, so you need your CDL for that. So I'll be subbing out a lot of that until I get
so
to that point.
Nicole, you are also a you do construction.
But see, like, and I have my general contractor's license, but I do all my own work. You know what I mean? So I'm really big on wherever I go, I have to control the real estate. I don't believe in renting. Like that's not anything that I'm ever going to do. Like right now, I have an option to move franchise part of my business in Homewood, Illinois, but they don't want to sell us the building. So to
Mm.
me, that's like no. And I told my partner that doesn't make any sense to me because I believe in being able to control the real estate. If I can't control it, I don't really want it
Smart.
because at the end of the day, the real estate is really what's valuable. So as a general contractor, I work on all my own stuff. I don't really sub out or do any work for anyone else, but it gives me the option to control my permits, my design, to be in on the process, to control my numbers. So like the building where I'm at, I redeveloped that building, but it's mine. You know what I mean? So people were like, the last interview we did down there, they were calling, they were like, can you? I was like, I don't really work for somebody else, you know what I mean? Because I don't, you know what I
That
mean? But
sounds
thank you,
like a
nice to meet you.
division, though. That sounds like you need to get a division, girl. That's a
Yeah,
whole
Well,
nother
yeah.
division.
I love
let,
giving information, you know what I mean? But
let,
I don't.
let me just get one more thing in, and Marsha, China, Cavett, you can go for it. But Nicole, what advice would you give the city of Baltimore when it comes to retaining businesses?
First of all, Baltimore City has to cut out a lot of this underwritten rules that they have that's going on. They need to be more transparent on the process to bring businesses there. Only select people get information, or only select people. If you're not part of a clique or this and that, or if you don't know the person, know this person, then you don't know. And this kind of you out trying to navigate waters by yourself, which is very complex. So for me, I think they need to have more transparency. They need to, and these city council reps, they need to be held accountable because they're missing in action half the time. They only show up when there's a catastrophe, and to me that's unacceptable. I think that there needs to definitely be more transparency in the process. A lot of the hidden rules that goes on, and they know what I'm talking about. They need to, it just needs to be done away with. I'm hopeful for the new administration. I won't say that I'm full of hope, but I do have some hope that it'll come to fruition. But I'm in Councilman Bullock's district, so yeah.
So, and
That's
then
all
there's
I got to
that.
say about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, are you dealing at all with the minority business development that with Paul Taylor over there in the minority business section?
I have not done anything with Baltimore City per se. We are in the second phase for our MBE with the state. I wasn't really, and I'm gonna say it like this. Baltimore is very cliquish. So unless you're
Clickish.
oh yeah, it's very cliquish. They got their cliques. If you're not in on this clique or you're not supporting this person, then they don't necessarily want to help you. And see, because I have my own money to a point, I don't think that, and because I'm not begging, like I'm not gonna beg, I'm not going whatever it is, then I'll go back to Chicago, which is where I'm from, to ask my lenders there. So I'm not in that whole begging process with what they want me to do. You know what I mean? And that's what I get from my city council person. Because if I'm not coming to him, I've had two catastrophes at my business. I have not seen this man show through my door yet, and he lived one block behind me. I'm this.
Stop.
This is how no, it's serious. He lived on Highlands. I'm on Lombard. I have never seen John Bullock come through. He did call after my accident where the car crashed into my store. But when a boy was shot outside my building, nothing. If you're not part of the clip, I'm telling you that you don't get any whatsoever. You don't get that. You don't get the resources. You don't get the calls. You don't get anything. So, but then when it comes time to support them, they want the support. I won't do it.
So that sounds like you need a support system. You need a
Well, I
different
have a
kind of
strong.
support.
I need a Baltimore City support system. I have a strong support base from Illinois because
Yeah.
all of my finance, anytime I need to finance any of my projects, and it's sad, and it's sad to say, but I'm gonna say it. I have white boys coming up out of Chicago funding my dreams. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But in Baltimore City, if you go to them, it's like, oh, well, you're not part of this, or oh, you're not part of that. I've been to your Harbor Bank. And the one guy talked to me like I had no asset, and all he had was my name. You know what I mean? Like real. If you're not part of the clique, I'm telling you that it's very hard to progress in Baltimore City. So you have to come with other resources, and that's what I have found. So I don't know, and that's just been my experience. It may not be the same for everybody else, but I would love to have a support system in the city. But I will tell you that you get more support outside the city. Like who supports my business the most? They're coming from PG County, Montgomery County with the international base because no one in Baltimore City is doing what we do. We're shipping freight, air, and ocean. We have the whole, pretty much the Caribbean. We stacking barrels. Like on my Instagram, I'll be showing people like how we get out there and we send in forklifts, crazy stuff. Like, the big old driving
I
moors,
love
not like
you.
the little one that people have. But we took it to another level. We had people coming from Delaware, like Duns and Bradstreet got us at like 45,000, whatever. But I can't wait to show them that our first year in business, we coming out in the black. You know what I'm
I
saying?
love
So
it.
I'm proud and we're
Right
moving.
on.
Congratulations for you.
Right
And,
on.
thank you.
Quite an accomplishment.
And I would love to have Baltimore support.
That's that Midwestern love,
Thank
girl.
you.
I'm from Indiana, from South
Yeah,
Bend.
yeah.
So
Oh,
Nicole,
yeah, yeah.
how did you make the shift from nursing to shipping? What happened here? Tell us about the transition.
Well, can we do one thing just
Basically,
before we talk about that shift real quick? I'd like to make a comment about the international shipping. I think that the significant point to recognize about international shipping is that much of that international shipping is going out and coming in through the Port of Baltimore.
Yes.
And so while you have your support here in Montgomery County or PG County, my dad used to ship in and out. He, used to transport like vehicles that were going to Africa and things like that through his business. And it was just, a thing that stood out to me. The Port of Baltimore is something where you should have some support for your business.
I do. But
Okay,
I tell you, they're not Black people.
Right.
Right.
From
our community.
And there you go.
But
from your district, councilman, the person there that would have some influence to support you.
Sounds
right.
like
And I mean, we have shippers, like we work with Priority Global, but they're not Black owned. You know what I mean? And like I've worked with different shippers off the port. My thing is that when it comes down to the logistics of, our next location, finding out, what grant opportunities are available, you get none of that. It's like crickets. If you call, it's crickets. Southwest Partnership, crickets.
Right.
Originally, yeah, I mean, I can go into depth about the different, just the whole Baltimore City infrastructure. I'm hoping it changes, but I'm not really, like I said, I'm holding out hope, but I'm not going to, put all my eggs into that basket. But the port, yes, we do have. But a lot of those people, they operate in Baltimore, but they come from the county. They don't, the owners of those shipping companies, they don't live in the city. They live in the county. Yeah, so they just there to do business. Sort of like myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't live in the city either. I live in the county. Way out in the county. So,
let me ask you this.
But I come from the city, so I would like to see the city improved.
What about the Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce? The Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce, are there any connections there that have been supportive for you?
I would actually tell you that I've really never really reached out to them. I recently joined the Black Chamber of Commerce, but I haven't really, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm so busy too. It's kind of hard for me to be like, I'm going to attend this meeting, Wednesday. But I haven't, because a lot of stuff like with this business, I have pretty much financed on my own, through other sources of using my own money. So, but now that I'm stepping out and I'm looking for that warehouse, I am going to be looking for that support.
Akio, what were we going to say?
I was saying like what China was saying, like what made that shift? Because I was quiet because I'm observant, but there's so many things that was said that things was moving. So what I wanted to say was like, just like how you were in the medical field, I'm currently in the medical field. I mean, I do a lot of other things. But for us now, I've been working for Hopkins, the university specifically, for about 10 years, since 2010. And now they rolled out this thing where so we have to take these Otherwise, you lose your job. They just enforce. I haven't took a flu shot in like 10 years. I believe in you. I believe in boosting the immune system. I take CMOS. I take elderberry. I do everything what I can do. I just went to the doctor's recently, and he told me, hey, Akio, if anyone had your diet, he said a lot of my patients will be well off, right? So I do believe in that as well. But I do come from communities, unfortunately, like everyone that's probably on this live, that a lot of people don't have the privilege to. They have that diet. They can't necessarily just make that leap. They can't make that jump because of the conditions that we come from, right? But I do want to say this with the vaccine before I get into how did you make that shift? Because I'm also in the process of, I took a course on real estate. I've been studying ARV. I've been doing things to make the shift as well. And a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends, they always ask like, yo, why you still at Hopkins? Like, I see you being out. Like, I've seen you on social media with Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, all these other people. Why are you still here? But I'm using this job. I'm using this thing as a vehicle. You get what I'm saying? To push me and to move me to where I need to be. Similar to, like I said, about the diet, of how some people, they are now in a position where they have to use what they have right now as a vehicle to eventually probably move, but it's a slow process. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we really don't have that the need, or with the invincible enemy, we don't have the privilege to just kind of like say like because there's so much that's going on. I see you back, Nicole. What I was rambling just waiting for you to come back, but what I wanted to say is that
was that what you were doing?
What rolling out, what has rolled out recently was that we're now forced to take the flu vaccine. They did that in October, and I was like, I haven't had to take that in 10 years. But you know what? Being though that even though I boost my immune system, even though I've done all these things, as we know, with the gyms being closed down, we had to minimize how much. I haven't been exercising as much as I would be because we can't be out and about, even running. You can't be out. So I said, I'm making a conscious decision because I wouldn't want two things hitting me at once because I am in the hub of Hopkins. I guess what I did finally within 10 years, I took the flu shot vaccine. I said, okay, cool. And guess what? It wasn't an option this go round. If you didn't take it, then you can lose your job this go round, right? So now they have this other thing, whereas though they just said, hey, you guys have to take the, I'm just learning because I don't watch the news as much. I watch it just a very bare minimum because I do believe in waking up in the day and guarding your mind, not necessarily investing in that. So, you guys already know that spill, but we have to necessarily roll out the vaccines. And if you don't take the vaccine, you can possibly lose your job. But what I will say is this, like, you said you was in nursing for about 8 years. What do you say to the surgeon? Well, I just got news today. This just happened today, but before I had actually got on this call, a surgeon that I know, he actually has to put a pipe through a COVID-19 patient's throat. And he comes home to a person who has autoimmune diseases, 90-year-old. So when he's in the field and he wears the hamset suit, he does all the things to protect himself. But because he wants to make a conscious decision because his family is on his back, do he say no to the actual possibilities of a vaccine, or do he gamble with every time he has to put a pipe to a COVID patient's throat because he's a surgeon? Do he go along with the immune system that he has? And this guy's, about in his 50s, 60s. Or do he say, let me take chances with taking this vaccine because this can actually fight, so I won't have to worry about, you get what I'm saying? Every day I got to take off my clothes to wash, you know what I mean? And you're already fighting that good fight. And that's already stressful as it is. So trust me, I know about the agendas. Donnie is my man. So Donnie, he always schooled me to the stuff. I'm looking at both lenses of like the vaccine. Oh, dude, I was like, nah, me, my answer's like this. I ain't thinking. But in a situation like others that are facing that, and even for me, facing the thin line, like I told you, I am using the vehicle. I've studied real estate. I do clothes. Celebrities hit me up for shoes, but I'm using this vehicle as this job because I definitely need it. I definitely need to actually use this to actually continue what I do. But for some, we don't have that privilege to say no, because at the end of the day, and then for some, and then I've seen other sources that said that some of the same Trump supporters that say like, yo, don't take it. They the first ones in the line to take it because they don't want us of color to take it because they want it, you know what I mean? Because it's already limited. So it's a lot, like how you said, Marsha, there's a lot of resources out there. And we have to come to the table as a people, as a unit to say, hey, yo, what we going to do? Because it is life or death. And we've never been in this time. But for us to say automatically as a regard, for those people who are not in the field, who those people are front and center, and they're paranoid, mucus and stuff is blowing in their face, and even if they got a hand suit on, and they saying that the RV lights, that the particles when they come home is still laying on their feet, and they're like, yo, if I take this, at least I have a chance to fight it, versus me not taking it all, and then my whole. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So, but forget all that, because I don't want us to go back in that, because we got 35 minutes and we talk about that.
I'm really sad.
What I want to ask is this: when you made that shift, because I'm in the process of making that shift too. When you made that shift from being the nurse towards this, and what ways did you go about doing that? And, so that way, you can kind of encourage people that it is possible. You can use your vehicle, because you used that as a vehicle for 8 years, but then you shifted. You get what I'm saying? So enlighten us on that. And first of all, congrats. Like, yo, your story is so inspiring. And I feel like the reason why people like it's already like Donnie was doing. He was doing the skin, but you as a Black woman, that has to be challenging too, because you got to use these people front and center. So anyway, I feel you. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wonderful.
Well, I've been a nurse actually since 1996. I started out as an LPN, 91 Charlie in the military before I went back and became a registered nurse.
Wow.
So the last 8 years, I, have not touched any patients in regards to just doing like administrative and clinical documentation improvement, as well as working the various projects for like CMS when it comes to overbilling, of the federal government. So for me to make that transition is because I love real estate. So I was, as a nurse, I was buying properties and things like that. And then once I came upon this mixed use building, that was my opportunity to kind of branch out and do some other things. Once I tried to, do business, because I still have my property back in Illinois as well, because that's where I'm from. And I was trying to do a deal and I couldn't find no notaries. I couldn't get no copies. And it's like, this is Baltimore City. Why do I have to go downtown to get a copy, to get a notary, or either I have to go to Washington Boulevard? So I said, well, why not let us put something here at this location? Because to me, coming from the city, everything should be walkable. If I'm living in the city, I should be able to walk and get services. That's how I was raised. Because I can understand in the county where you got acres and everybody's far apart. But if I'm in the city, I should be able to go get food, decent quality food. I should be able to conduct business if that's what I want to do, because I'm in the city and all those resources should be somewhere. You come to that west side of Baltimore, it's like a ghost town.
That's nice if you're in Chicago, but you're in Baltimore. This is the home of segregation. Welcome to Baltimore.
But it's got to stop. It's got to stop. Chicago's one of the most segregated cities, and probably in the country. And my thing is that we got to start holding these city council people, these mayors and the state delegates. We got to start holding them accountable, because this is unacceptable. When you look at what's going on, look, West Baltimore is a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. You drive down West Baltimore Street, it's a mess.
It's crazy.
Now they're trying.
The course that I'm taking, the guy is Jamal King. He's from Chicago, and he started the course with the real estate course that I'm studying. He's from Chicago, and he actually lived in Baltimore. So it's wild that you are from Chicago as well. And I feel like So anyway, we'll connect.
I gotta step in, Akio. We brought you here today to celebrate your latest accomplishments in your art, in your art deco. Can you share something with us so the ladies will know just how dynamic and well received your work is? Now, I know personally that you've been in the company of Snoop from The Wire. I think it started with Snoop, and then the next thing I know, you're in a picture with Spike Lee, and I got jealous on that one.
I was just telling a friend of mine that being on this live today, I said it's funny because I was gonna wear my 1619 hat that I said before you crack jokes about my afro, but that it's funny because I get hats from Spike Lee. You get what I'm saying, of the 619 and the 40 Acres and Mule, and I started off with Snoop. That's when I started taking things seriously, but it really started when I started making clothes and making T-shirts and making shoes all in my high school, all the way up until now, where it has put me in positions to meet people like Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart. But how I started initially was before Snoop, I was in Spokane, Washington, and I would meet people like Twister, Bone Thugs, 50 Cent, Samuel L. Jackson. And these things didn't take place, or they didn't take root, because I had my mindset like I was still in the streets. So here it is, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm seeing these celebrities, and I got that mindset where as though like, it was just crazy. But now I feel like when I met Snoop, I was starting to become the right person to actually embrace those opportunities. So what I did her is she shared it on social media, and it got the attention of Donna Rollins. Donna Rollins actually shared it with Dave Chappelle in 2015. And then it was like a domino effect that continued to kind of like happen for me, and to the point where just recently, what you was just talking about, Dottie, with the HBO Max contacting me to do 250 wooden boxes. I was the artistic director for that, for Charm City Kings. And, with Allen Iverson, a team contacted me to do his sneakers, and Dr. Dre at the beginning of this year. His people's contacted me to actually do a commission piece of sneaker art, Air Force One specifically, for him to have a display in the studio. And I took that opportunity to actually put in my notes, because I have a letter of certification to share with him the news, the history of how Baltimore saved the Air Force One. And he didn't know that. And he was like, his whole, if you look at anything on YouTube and you go on a Complex or something like that, they document him, and they go to his closet, and he has a whole closet of just Air Force Ones, because that's his favorite sneaker. So I just like, I got the commission to do Dr. Dre. I'm gonna let him know that Baltimore is responsible for bringing that shoe back in the 80s, because if it wasn't for Baltimore, when Phil Knight was about to press the button to discontinue the shoe, Mr. Shoe and Charlie Rudo, they both went to Oregon, and they said, yo, people in Baltimore, West Baltimore, Paul Christ, they still want these Air Force Ones. So then he said, okay, you guys are crazy, but we're going to give it to you. They gave him a few pair of sneakers, and people from all over, New York, Philly, Virginia, they came to Baltimore just to get a pair of Air Force Ones. And I put that into the note, and he was just taken back by it. And it's crazy, because these synchronicities, when I create things, it seems like Compton's Finest, for example. I put that on the because I designed the box as well. I put that on a box, and Dr. J was taken back. He was like, yo, how did Akio know how to put this on the box where that's going to be the new, I'm not supposed to, but hey, this is a lot of people right now, they're going to see this. But that's supposed to be his new Netflix series that he's putting out that breaks the stereotypical barriers of how people just think that Compton just birthing gangbangers and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he was taken back by that. And then even the synchronicities of the Allen Iverson, when I've already put his Coach Thompson on the toe cap. And I could go on and on about the design. And even, the Black Panther series, I just recently launched that on my site. But I was going to release Black Panther, the comic books. There's this right here. This is a comic book. I kind of like to celebrate all Black superheroes. And I was going to start this in August 27th. And I shared on my social media, like, yo, I'm about to release the Black Panther series. And then the next day, Chadwick Boseman passed away.
Wow.
And I immediately pulled it from my site, because I was like, no, Akio, but yo, you was wearing it all summer. You was wearing it in the gym. I said, yo, I don't feel comfortable actually for my first but I'm not going to go into that. But it's just crazy how creating things, it seems like it be, I don't know, like these synchronicities. So anyway, I say all to say that I feel like now with the opportunities I've been able to get, even with the Spike Lee thing, somebody told me in 2008, like, when I was filming Safe Streets, it's an organization. That was the first organization I was documenting, and I'm a documentarian as well.
It's a great program.
Yeah. And I was there when Safe Streets first started, right? When the first ceasefire, Chicago. Oh my God, y'all be all over the place, right? Chicago started this thing called ceasefire, and they actually brought it to Baltimore, and they changed it to Safe Streets.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity of actually filming the first people who curated or actually started it. And I remember I had a high 8 tape, and you can, to the point where you play the playback, you can hear like the rolling sound in my camcorder. And I did like a small documentary, and I remember a friend of mine was like, when she seen it, she was like, she started crying, and I'm like, oh, why are you crying? She's like, yeah, this is so powerful. And this is in 2008, by the way. She said, she randomly said, I just don't see you meeting Spike Lee one day. I see you actually working with him. She said that in 2008. And in the back of my mind, I didn't believe it, but in 2014, not only did I meet Spike Lee on my birthday on June 28th, but then 4 months after that, I filmed him and I directed him in my first documentary feature film, called Grace at the Midnight, which is a book that Felicia Pearson she wrote and she released. But I filmed them 4 months after that inside of his 40 acres in the Mule headquarters. So it's also crazy the mind, and I wish everybody knew about like what we can kind of like manifest, you know what I mean? But and people, a funny person said, like, Akio, it seems like every shirt that you make or everything that you make, you wind up meeting the people. So I have footage of me actually in 2006 when I had a warrant, I had the goals in my mouth, I was up there talking, I was selling my shirts outside in Spokane, Washington, and I had Dave Chappelle, the shirts that I was selling. I had the Wire shirts before I had a warrant in Baltimore at that time. I don't have any warrants now. I cleaned my record up. I'm able. It's the same story that I actually talk about my makeup. I share that with the youth when I speak on this, when I teach video production classes and this, that, and the third. But it just seems like I like to say that things come full circle.
Yeah.
And, I'm only condensing what I want to really share with you guys because I'm trying to share the floor. But that's
praise God.
Well, let me just get one point in. You got to tell them about Australia.
Oh yeah, Australia. Wow. Speaking of full circle, like I told you, I was when I left Baltimore, I went to Phoenix, and that experience of me going to Phoenix, like I was homeless or whatever, right? So having that experience, and the reason why I'm bringing up Arizona is because in 2016, when I was about to go to Australia, a friend of mine was like, "Yo, you can come to Australia." I said, "I can't come to Australia. I have some. My record is bad." She was like, "Look, you might as well just see what this is." I seen what it was, and then my mother's friend, Will, he's a lawyer. He was my lawyer when I was doing crazy stuff back in the day. So I went back to him to actually help me clean my record up, and he said, "Keo, they threw the case out in Arizona. So, you can practically go." So then I still didn't believe it, right? So I went out there, man, and I checked the boxes. When you out there overseas, they give you a paper. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? And I act like I checked the outside box, so I can act like I'm jet lagged. So I will act, So they asked me, I was like, "Yeah, I didn't hardly see it," but I was prepared. Remember that vehicle I was telling you about, Nicole? I said, you know what? The 30 days that I have scheduled off at Hopkins, I'm just going to use those 30 days to figure out ways to be financially independent, right? If they turn me back, because Snoop Dogg can't go to Australia, neither can Chris Brown go to Australia from the charges that they have. So they are that strict, right? And my charges was not, it's crazy, right? So anyway, I get to Australia, and sure enough, they stopped me at customs. They say, "Hey, come here, Mike." And I came there, and they said, "What are you doing here?"
They say, "Come here, what?"
Come here, Mike. Come here, Mike. Let me talk to you for a minute, right? So then I'm there, and I shared with him. I shared with the guy. I said, "Hey," he's like, "What are you doing out here?" Remember I said about the power of words and manifestation?
Mm-hmm.
I told this guy, I made up some stuff in that moment. Yeah, I plan to make some art and donate to the homeless, and I'm going to film a wedding. I was attending a wedding, but I wasn't going there to film a wedding, right? He said, "Okay, you know what, man? You seem like a good Mike, my spirit." He said, "Enjoy, Mike." He said, "Normally we would have had turned you around, but enjoy," right? And I'm like, what? So I'm there. I knew that every step that I took while I was there, that I wasn't supposed to be there. But let me tell you something. My friend of mine, she wanted me to come to Hosier Lane, this alley that was built for the homeless, right? And you can walk. They got signs that like, "Do not pass the homeless." Like you gotta definitely you gotta give them something, because the Aboriginal, as we all know, the Aboriginal, they're the originators of that land. So they want that alley is for them. And it hit me right then and there, like yo,
you
now
you gotta do it.
So then I gotta do it. So I made some artwork. I wound up meeting the people of the youth projects that's in that alley that curates all that stuff for the homeless. And then I wound up donating to the homeless. They use my artwork to raise funds for the homeless in that alley, right? So and then when I was about to leave, it hit me because I was like, oh, wow, my mom, before she passed away, because Glorious Heroes is my brand. Akio's Glorious Heroes. Akio means bright boy. It means glorious man. It means glorious husband. But I was like, yo, it's crazy because my mother wanted everybody in my family to have a vacation, and here it is. I didn't want to go back because I felt like I was in a rat race. You know what I mean? Or going back to Hopkins, doing all this other stuff. But it came full circle because here it is. I'm here, and I feel like I paid my because when I was homeless, it was because of me. It was because I was doing what I was doing in these streets, and I wasn't but I needed that. And full circle. That trip was just amazing. I was able to not only do the artwork for youth projects, but also did the artwork for Beekeeper Parade, which is these book bags that they make these book bags for kids in Cambodia who wouldn't necessarily get an education. And he said, hey man, I see what you did with youth projects. Mind, kind of work with me and I raised funds for them. So not only did I raise funds with one organization, I raised funds for 2 organizations, and it just worked out that way. So
what's the most powerful art you've ever produced?
Henrietta Lacks. You know what?
Why is it the most powerful one?
And presenting that piece to the family, I found out that day that I was related to the family.
Wow.
On Christmas Eve of 2019. Wow, and it's Christmas Eve today.
Wow.
Found out that with my family. My Crystal Evans Lax is married to Crystal Evans Lax is married to David Lax, and I held my nephew for the first time. Kristen's Evans Lax, so I was like, wow, it was divine.
Powerful.
Like what? So yeah, and it was a commission piece. So I'm saying that.
Akio, give me 3 things that you look to see to do in the near future. 3 things.
3 things. I look to have workshops for individuals like me who had come from humble beginnings, had holes in their shoes, this and the third. Secondly, I want to actually start real estate so I can actually have, because you got to have a space, like what Nicole was saying. Like I'm trying to get the space in Illinois, but they're not trying to, so I want to have a space to do that and be able to teach that what I've learned from Jamal King with building. Well, I'm still learning. I want to be able to teach that. And third, I'm trying to choose that wisely because we know the powerful words of manifestation. I'm trying to be selfless. You get what I'm saying? Because I know that every time that you get something. So the third thing would be, I guess, to just make celebrate our heroes that we have already. Make sure we celebrate our own heroes like Kinderman, B. Gaddy. Make sure that, because if we don't do it, my generation don't do it. I'm 36. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want them to be forgotten. So if I can make a comic book, what I'm saying, feature and have like this universe of the Running Man, and the Running Man, he's circling around the world. People, and he's like a comic, and he's circling around the world. I mean, he's circling and he's running. It's a comic. People think that he's running, but he's really running because if he stops, the world stops. Like that type of stuff, right? Like Big Gaddy, she saved people who was hungry, or Kinderman, it was a bullies, and I witnessed this. It was bullies who were about to fight you that day, and every kid loved Kinderman. So Kinderman saved the day. So I would like to just celebrate the heroes that we have, because if we forget them, we have nothing. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much it.
Akio, I want you to meet, and I don't have his information. Donnie, I'm gonna give it to you. His name is Munir, and he has been buying up these vacancies over in East Baltimore, and he's gotten the children who live in the communities to help build them out. And he's done several of those buildings. I think this could be a very interesting relationship with the boys, the young men that he's working with, and the work that they're doing, where you could get the building that you want.
Yes.
And it could be an interesting partnership. So Donnie, we'll connect with you later.
Well, he may already know Munir.
Do you know Munir?
That name sounds familiar. I know faces. I've heard some.
Last name Bahar.
Bahar. The 12 o'clock boys, the king of them.
Yeah, they're doing some really
I've seen him before. He does
the martial arts with the young people. And he was the 300-man march coordinator.
Yeah, good dude. A good dude.
Please connect us. Please connect us.
Nicole, I think you had a question. Nicole,
I was just gonna tell him that he could also try to come to West Baltimore, because those kids on that side, I realize, East Baltimore is great and everything, but they got that what is that new development off the Green Mound or whatever. We have nothing in West Baltimore, so I mean, go to both. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with having something on both sides, but my thing is that it's plenty of money that is available through these economic development, so you should be able to tap into that as well. That's why I'm saying, where's Baltimore City to help with people with such aspiring, ideas and stuff for the kids?
So on this show, we have 2 dynamic entrepreneurs, one from Chicago, one from Baltimore, both making an impact, a global impact. When you think of Nicole, who came from the military, and we salute you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Which
thank you for
branch?
your service, also as a nurse, but also as a business person, one who is conscientious about her community. 1400 West Lombard Street, A&C Pack and Ship. You're sending what? Air, land, water in the middle of Baltimore. And so we're proud of you. Akio, you've met everybody. I heard you even met Billy Murphy once.
Billy Murphy, man, I don't like that. See, and I got to be comfortable with who I actually like. Things did happen. So yeah,
well, that was one of the first places we hung out.
Yeah. You talking about as far as where West Baltimore? You talking
Billy Murphy, the lawyer.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. You talking about when he took us to that secret compartment, and that was the first day that Donnie seen me when I was not like this. So Donnie was very patient with me, and he was like, "No, man, I gotta." He told me and these two other gentlemen that hey, you guys come after work. You know, we can kind of like I want to share something with you. He didn't tell us or disclose what it was going to be, but I was the only one that showed up, and when I showed up, I came there with my regular gear. He's like, brother man, like I don't mean no harm, but you know, I can't take you where I'm about to take you at with wearing that. So Donnie gave me my first suit.
Wow.
My first suit. And I got a picture of that. 2010, January 2010. And and shoes. Like I didn't have anything. Right. So then we goes and he brings me to this place, and I see I've never seen so many black people in the room at the same time, and they was all passing the bar. They was passing. I didn't even know what bar was. I thought bar was like, look, it was like, nah, they're passing the bar. And they were all, they all greeted me. And then next thing I know, I thought he just was like an ant on a fly on the wall. No, he knew the head guy. And then me and the head guy that he just talked about, we went into this room, and all I know was that it was like a movie, because we went into this room and it was like a circle thing. I don't know what room it was, but it was like a pool table there. It overlooked the city. And I was like, what? And then I went back home. And I'm like, and then that exposure alone, I might have not known then what it was, but he was just showing me that Baltimore has much more to offer than what I'm used to seeing. And then him and I, we've been still friends. We both cancers, you know what I mean? So that's why you see the passion burns. But we've been friends ever since, So yeah, that's my story.
Planted that seed. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to take the leadership role to see what you don't see in yourself, to be able to show you what you need to know. And so thank you, Donnie, for continually being that bright light.
Well, no, the most important part is what, Akio?
The important part is as far as what the seed has been planted, or what do you mean? Enlighten me.
Yeah, all of that. The most
Your
important
takeaway.
takeaway.
I would say just the patience.
The most important part.
Well, giving glory to God. If that's what you're tied at. Of course, that's what. But come on, Donnie, you always put me on the spot like this, man.
I would say do the work. Do the work,
Christmas.
and it'll pay off.
Is giving is what you mean? What you mean?
The young people.
Oh, of course, because I was young. Yes, of course, and that's another reason why I be monitoring what I share, because kids, they look at all my stories on Instagram. I can't go ham and do what I want to do anyway, because they study me. So, and I made sure that with Donnie done, I try to pay that back when I can. The pandemic has made it a lot challenging than normal, but I make sure that I have a lot of mentees, and and that you always see them.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's everything.
Yeah.
How do we follow you on Instagram?
It's at Akio Evans, AKIOEVANS. That's my main account. I have two other accounts, but that's the main account. And I have my site, everything like that is on there. And the other one is Akio Sweatshop. AKIOSWEAT shop.
Now, China, we've been talking about land. Please put a plug in for the Pump House. He's right in that vicinity. I don't know that he wants to stay in East Baltimore. He may want to go hang out with Nicole Orr. But in any event, tell him about the Pump House.
Absolutely. So we actually have space for you. And so if you wanted to have sessions where you mentor other young kids and you bring them in and you guys kind of do your art thing, I think that I could probably help out with that.
Wow.
So, we can talk about it. I have one last space to lease. And because of the mentoring piece and, working hard to get Black entrepreneurs to the next level, then I think that, we can work together to see what sort of grant funding and other things that we can pull in to help make it happen. So we should talk about it and see what we can do together. But the Baltimore Pump House is a 4.1 acre campus, and we're putting small businesses into low-income communities because our communities, like Nicole said, need more, not just programs and services, but we should be able to walk down to the corner and get a notary, send a package, go to the bank, just regular things that everyone else does in the suburbs. There's no reason that living in the city that we should not have a walkable opportunity to do those things.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to learn of more that you're doing. I knew of your work, but I didn't know your name. And so I had not, put it together, but I'm very familiar with your artwork.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
I don't take Akio with me too often because typically the girls fall in love with him and I'm not standing beside him.
God, you just had to do something, man.
Well, I know you love Akio. You showed him your shoes. Johnny, your shoes? I can't believe it. That's your love right there. That says he's going to invest everything he has in you.
Man.
Okay, Kivette, you've been. What have you gotten from this show, Kivette Minor Kane?
Well, I've gotten a lot from this show. From being conscious of what's going on in the world, to being conscious about what's going on locally. We need to be aware, and we need to make sure that we're reaching out in our community to make others aware, because everybody doesn't have access to the same news, just like Akio was saying. Sometimes we have to guard ourselves. As a financial liberator, I deal with emotions and finance. And so I recognize how trauma actually affects us in terms of our money management. And so for me, what that means is being able to help folks understand how we have transitioned from just, the United States to a global market, and to recognizing their place in that market. So they don't feel like, just a speck of dust, but recognize that their purchasing power, that their decisions, that their choices, that their knowledge and their being knowledgeable can make a difference, because everyone does count.
While you have the floor, Kivette, as we're winding down, and thank you, everyone. Special thank you to Next Phase Cafe at 112 East Lexington Street. They are open on Christmas Day. Jimmy Britton at Class Act Catering is also offering meals, selling meals for Christmas. And you can just go to BmoreNews.com, and also Edible Arrangements. 3 locations. They're now in Pennsylvania, but they also have a location on York Road in Govans and in Randallstown on Brembrook. But Kivette Kane, while you have the floor, and I know you're not expecting this question, but any suggestions for the city of Baltimore moving forward?
Yes. Yesterday it came to my mind when we were talking about, putting together action plans and holding folks accountable for following through on those action plans. Well, the first place that we can start is with ourselves. We have to deal with the person that we look at in the mirror every day. How am I creating action plans for myself? How am I following through on the actions that I say, that I'm going to do in terms of goals, and making progress? How am I holding myself accountable? Or do I have someone else that's holding me accountable? When we do that, then we can reach out into our community. We have these grassroots organizations in our communities. Every district should have a community organization where they're getting together and at least once a month having a conversation about what's going on in the district. I know that when I was a homeowner in West Baltimore over on Liberty Heights and over in Forest Park, I was a member of the homeowners or the community organization there, and we met on a regular basis. I was the only young person there. I was in my 20s at the time, and everybody, the next youngest person to me was like 50. So it was it was tough being a young person trying to be active. I was a homeowner, so I was trying to maintain, to learn in the process, but also trying to make sure that I secured my community. So that's what I see, Donnie, as our steps. Being able to.
What can Baltimore do to keep people in Baltimore and attract new people to Baltimore?
Oh, that's a big one. I think we need
we'll think about it. Marsha Jews, what advice would you have for the city of Baltimore? How do we keep businesses here, businesses like Nicole's, businesses like Akio's, like China. How do we keep people here in Baltimore, and how do we attract more?
I think one of the biggest things is that we need to create an environment where you have all of the current businesses, small businesses, mid-sized businesses, sitting in a space talking about what they really need, what the issues they've really had, and what needs to be done for them to even want to stay here. If you don't know what the problems are, what people are going through, then you can't solve the problem. You can't just think you know when you have not talked to actual business owners who've had to lay off people, who can't pay their bills, or who need more marketing support, or whatever it is that they need. You have to do a real needs assessment for all of the businesses, and not just focus only on downtown or the major corporations that are here. You've got to get into the community, because all those small and mid-sized businesses hire the people in those neighborhoods. And so how are you going to get a community to thrive unless you deal with the community and what the community needs? And speaking of community, thank you, Kavette, because every community has a community association. You need to sit down and include those community associations so that the people who live in those communities have input about what can be done within their communities, and get rid of all these doggone dead properties so that people can thrive in the communities in which they live. But you have to have a conversation.
I will say that in some neighborhoods where there were community associations over the past 20 years, attrition, people have left, people have died. And so we do not have the number of organizations that we once had. Kavette, let's go back to you. Second chance.
Well, I mean, in terms of drawing businesses to Baltimore and keeping businesses in Baltimore, I think addressing the issue that Nicole spoke about is going to be the most prevalent. We got to break up this cliquish attitude that we find not only in Baltimore, but in many areas. You know, you've got to be open for people to come in and contribute new ideas and to be able to, you know, update what has been done before. So yeah, maybe you've got a foundation, but now you got to build on that foundation. You can't just stay at the foundational level. You know, we got to grow up. We want skyscrapers in our communities. I mean, you know, not literally, but in terms of the organization, in terms of the contribution that we're able to make, we want to see our communities continue to grow and thrive. But we have to start on the very basic level. And that means bringing in our young people, you know, so if we can educate them on what it means to take care of your home, what it means to manage your money properly, what it means to own a business, what it means to, you know, bank on your creativity. Because see, in our community, there are so many people. Okay, so this thought, you know, something I've been pondering over is, okay, we hear all the time, do what you love, you know, but what people don't understand is, how do you monetize that? You know, how do you get the benefit from that? How do you turn that into something that can actually put food on your table so that you can support yourself and your family? You know, and that's
the answer to that is good information from people who know. Speaking of which,
but hold on, Johnny, because before you go on, you made a very good point, Kavette. Nicole is sitting here talking about she needs access to capital to be able to do all the things that she needs to do. So if we're sitting here talking about, we have businesses that are right here that need assistance to flourish, to do what they need to do. We got to get out of that old thinking, that old mentality, and look at what we have around us and figure out how we need to support them. You can't keep giving to the people who've already got. You got to give it to the people who need, and how we're going to grow. So if people outside of the city of Baltimore see that they're not growing their small and their mid-sized businesses, then how are you going to attract me if I already have been there and I've already checked out what you're doing, and I see that you're not making the investment to the people who are here trying to make it and trying to hire people, which brings in employment, which brings a tax base, which then goes into how people can get into home ownership. It's a huge issue that needs to new thinking, new creativity. And Brandon Scott, you've got this on top of you now, brother, and we know you have the capacity to do it. And we depend on you to do a paradigm shift in this city.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah, it's good that you said that. Y'all said that because from experience, and I've had experiences not too long ago. I was invited to speak on a panel before the pandemic, and speaking on this panel, the guy, he was a developer, so we was having discussions about like gentrification and so on and so forth. And he said, "Hey, I want to invite people from that look like me." He wasn't even from Baltimore. "I want to invite people that look like me to the community to actually have open conversation." So me and a friend of mine, he's a cinematographer, we both said, "Hey, you know what? We would like to go show up to that meeting." So I couldn't make the meeting because I think I had to work, but I said, "Can you go to the meeting for me so that way we can, get to the bottom of it, and you can get some information towards us starting to have an input on the community about how things are developed." Do you know that meeting that he said it was an audience and everything, but what was said in front of the audience didn't match that meeting. The meeting was a CBD oil. It had nothing to do with brand development, and we like, yo, and the guy wasn't even at the meeting. So we like, yo, we know that you're a brand. You showed that you have these buildings, you showed it, but you didn't even invite us to the right meeting. And it's like, and it's like with Nicole, like with Quebec, it's like what all of us are saying, it's like the cliquish thing, but it's like, why did you even say that? And it's on camera that you said it. But that's what y'all said. I was going to share it, but I was like, nah, I just want to share it.
Straight up.
True that this happens in Baltimore all the time. And here it is, you can have the capital, you can have the know-how, you can have like the plan and structure. But if you're like Nicole, whereas though you're trying to shift it, but like you said, it all boils down to us as our people, like making a shift of the mentality of, like we said, Marsha, want to receive the open ideas from the younger people and anybody, and because you can be older, young, or new, but it's like we have to make the shift of the change of wanting that input, and I've witnessed it myself. So I'm glad that I witnessed it, because if I never witnessed it, then I would never know what y'all was talking about. I mean, I would have had an idea, but being at that panel, and they had me on camera and had the guy on camera, and he was saying that, and then we go to the meeting with a CBD order that had nothing to do with the development of the community. I'm like, bruh, like, so anyway, just wanted to put that out there.
China Boterell, how do we attract more businesses to Baltimore? How do we keep the people here who are already here?
The data around the country tells us exactly what to do. And the data says that when a city is in the position that Baltimore is in, what they need to do is ensure that everybody has the opportunity to build wealth. And in order to do that, it means that people need the opportunity to own property. Only 43% of people in Baltimore own property. That's 20 percentage points below the state average. So what we need to do is slash the property tax in order to save services. In order to ensure that people have the opportunity to build wealth. And that
I've been wanting to share this with you. Did you know that a lot of people in Baltimore still pay ground rent?
I do. I'm very familiar with the concept of ground rent. And originally,
China, it's retarded. If I own a house, why in the hell am I paying ground rent? It's a part of the stick-ups and just the pimping that goes on in. If I own a damn house, why am I? But you got people who have been paying ground rent for 30, 40 years. You have people who have been renting for 35 years. They paid for the house 2 times over. Marsha, you got to know what I'm talking about.
People can buy out their ground rent, and there's legislation to address that. And if people need help to buy out their ground rent, it's usually for a nominal sum of money. Then I think that education and help has to be more widely accessible. Absolutely. But people are not locked into paying ground rent in perpetuity anymore in Baltimore. It originally started as something to make land easier to own by owning the improvements on the land if they could not also afford the land itself. But now we know that there are better ways, and people are not locked into that in the way that they used to be. But they may need help to understand that.
Nicole Orr, you got the final word.
First of all, I want to say, China, I think what you're doing in East Baltimore is beautiful. Thank you for bringing that concept to that side, because I remember when East Baltimore, when we lived there, it was about maybe 12 years ago at this point, was a catastrophe. So it's wonderful that you've taken that investment.
Right, and
it's
it's a microcosm of what should happen everywhere in the city.
Exactly. So thank you for having something like that on the side of Baltimore. Come west. Look, come west. We need it. But
I'm working to do it with. So
okay. But for me, for Baltimore City, again, the transparency, evening out the playing field, no longer friends, cliques, and things like that. Just put the money on the table for everybody. Put the idea, just put the information out there for everybody. Stop the backdoor meetings, stop the we only going to support this idea because we see it. We know it's happening. We hear about it, even at the community association meetings. We end up hearing about the things that happen, but or you may get an invite after the fact. So just level the playing field. That's my whole thing. And I think that, hopefully with this administration, we'll see it happen. I'm hopeful, but then again, like I said, I can't put all my eggs into that basket of hope, but I am hopeful for this administration that he will turn and we will see a shift. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will be broadcasting tomorrow. Marsha Jews, are you going to join us?
I think so.
That's what you told me. We're scheduled.
Yeah.
We have Tony Randall.
We'll be here at 10 o'clock.
For Next Phase Cafe,
Is he
Cavett in
sending
China.
food? Is he sending food to my house? Is he
Here.
sending food? Is he sending food? Is he sending breakfast to everybody? It's Tony Randall sending breakfast to everybody on the panel so we can all taste his. I think he's doing a small breakfast.
A beautiful holiday brunch, Marsha. I'm all for that.
I thought Tony Randall was going to drop it off. That's for.
I will ask him, and he does deliver to East Baltimore. Akio, how can people follow you again? And then Nicole, how can people get in touch with you? Special thank you to Rodney Griffin, woo, big time supporter, Andy Havas, all the way from Hungary. Marsha Jews, your friend has chimed in again. Arash Cow, you know Arash?
That's your friend.
No. He says he's your friend, and he left. He said to you, Nicole, you as a woman-owned business should get WMBA and apply for both minority job at state level and federal level. Tons of opportunities await you. Okay, so Akio.
You can follow me on everything. Akio Evans, that's at AKIO EVANS. My website is by Akio Evans, that's BYAKIO EVANS. Everything Akio Evans, Facebook.
Can we see a glimpse of your product? Can you just show us one picture?
Yeah. Sure, I'll show y'all one picture real fast. Let me see. I'll show you one of my I'm gonna show you a sneak peek of something that that I'm about to share, but I haven't shared.
Right here on BmoreNews.com.
Let's see here. Yeah, are you familiar with the Butter Crunch cookie? What's the name? This is the box, right?
Cool.
And
you
this
make the cookies.
You said that I make the cookies.
No,
we eat them at the
I sold a transparent,
cool,
transparent, like clear image, and this is the insoles. And that's the 1619 hat that I was going to wear today, but that's the insoles. And yeah, Butter Crunch cookie customs. But but a friend of mine's she commissioned me to make those, and
how much?
Oh, yeah. Well, somebody said it. Teaching individuals how to do what we love, right? And a friend of mine's, my kid, shout out to my kid. She just shared with me a formula. She's graduated from Micah. Shared with me a formula. I'm not going to discuss her formula, but I will say that the importance of knowing your worth and actually starting to feel confident of what to. So it wasn't like you can buy your shoes or down to locker room.
Was it 4 figures or 5 figures or 3 figures?
It wasn't that close, but it's close enough. You know what I mean? And
close to 5 figures, close to 4 figures.
In that range, but still like Donnie,
always obscure.
Forever and ever. Sounds
but at the end of the day, it's about learning what you can do to actually compensate for your time. Because I do teach part-time off and on. I do work a full-time 10-hour shift job. So I got to factor in all those things. So when I do touch anything, and I have to get paid for it, and I have to feel confident in being able to be paid for it. But I have to learn the craft. I think I put my 10,000 hours in, over a decade or so. So anyway, but yeah, I lost my train of thought. Donnie always be putting me on the spot, man.
That's
and never losing sight of funding your dream as well. You're doing that. Very good.
Thank you. How can people get I do have a let's say this OWN network had just reached out to me, and that invoice was in that figure range, you know. So but it's a blessing though. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, be on the lookout for that thing. Be on the lookout.
It's a real blessing now because she sold part of that business and then went into the rest of the Disney or somebody. So
indeed,
that's a huge thing. You might want to follow up on that.
Oh yeah, it's in the process. And yeah, I'm not even supposed to disclose that, but yeah, 2021. Yeah. So
you're first.
Nicole, put a plug in for yourself, Nicole.
We're located at 1400 West Lombard, Baltimore, Maryland 21223. You can follow us on Instagram, ANC Package Ship. And you can follow us at it's ACPACKN Ship. We do distribution and fulfillment for a lot of the local businesses. We just completed a big fulfillment for a company that's across over there in the Trade Center. And our Instagram, I gave you Instagram, so our Facebook is, what is it, at Pack and Ship Today, and our website is www.acpacknship.com. Or you can also use the Ship Empress because I've been crowned the Ship Empress.
Akio, why you don't give out your phone number? Because too many people be calling, too many girls, too many fans.
You know what, man? Donnie, look, man.
Right.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the BmoreNews Morning Show. Thank you, everyone. Up to date. I can hear you, China. I can hear you, China.
Thank you.
Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day, and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.